gentlemen, as per findings of a Harvard Business Review study, emotionally connected clients are twice as valuable as highly satisfied clients in terms of lifetime value. Hence, successful companies just not focus on needs of the customers, but also empathize with their sentiments. That brings us to our next session on understanding client sentiments in 2024, key sites and trends. We are thrilled to announce that Mr. Jagdish Mitra, Head, India Business and Corporate Affairs, Tech Mahindra, will be joining us as a distinguished speaker for the session. Please put your hands together for Mr. Mitra. With the business landscape rapidly evolving, it has become imperative to stay attuned to client preferences and expectations. Over to you, sir, to talk more about the topic.
Hi, good afternoon. This one. I thought there were a very sort of interesting set of questions that Nidhi was running about how do you stop talent to go to larger companies, and I think suddenly the finger will point to people like us from Tech Mahindra or Wipro or HCL or TCS. I can only tell you Tech Mahindra doesn't do this, other companies may do it. We are extremely clear that we have to grow the SME business. No, I'm just joking, but I think from a NASSCOM perspective, it's the most important segment for us to drive growth. And I think I personally, when I talk to the teams here in NASSCOM, whether it's Maulik or whether it's Sangeeta or the SME teams of from the executive committee, this is the reason why, one of the main reasons why the IT industry in India is growing. And I think the innovation, the power of delivering what our customers need, and the belief, especially at a time where we are today, is in India primarily because what you guys do and what you guys do to challenge larger companies like us, but also demonstrate that the, being a sales guy from everything important is really the pipeline. So the quality and health of the pipeline defines the quality and health of the business. I've always felt what's getting added, what's getting converted, what's getting larger. You are the pipeline. You're the reason why India feels so bullish about its future, especially in the technology world. So thank you for, and it's a great scene to see so many of you here joining in. I think this is an interesting topic, understanding the client sentiment, especially in a year where I'm sure you all are seeing the impact of a lot of sluggishness, if I may, from last year, and the speed at which things are being decided and moved, but also many, many more disruptive elements that are impacting our business. I'll try and walk you through a few things that I saw in the last financial year, which is primarily about how things started to impact our business and what I think what the customers have been looking for. Obviously, there's no need to reiterate the fact that technology still remains extremely resilient in times like this. There's a demand for obviously consumption of what was the older part of the technology, but also new sets, and therefore there's a significant impact on everything that you do, which side of the scale that you live in, whether it's in the legacy world or whether it's in the new world or in the modern world. You'll always have an opportunity if you are completely deeply focused in it. We all know that last year, and again, it's no signs of slowdown, ER&D seems to be the poster child for tech services. Last year, amongst all IT services companies, the biggest growth that we saw was some of this from the ER&D sector. The deep tech, I mean, obviously there was only one conversation, the year where all of our eyes were opened by AI broadly, and everyone talked about everything that can be solved by AI until people, like someone said that we sometimes misinterpret the impact of anything which is coming to us in the short term by thinking a whole lot will change in the short term, and completely miscalculate what the impact of it will be in the long term by underestimating the power of what it will change. And there's no difference for AI. I think people expected everything, including world hunger, to be solved by AI in the next 3 to 6 months, which ain't happening. But this, if we are not building for it, and my significant view and proposition on this is that whatever we are doing now, whatever your business is doing now, between 30 to 50% is bound to change and not probably exist in the next 5 years. And that's not based on data, but this is based on real customer conversations and the power at which some people are working, especially in the Silicon Valley and the West. And also, one of the big revelations this time was the amount of unicorns coming across in deep tech, even in India, especially the conversation we have in the NASSCOM about the startups that have been created and how they are sort of creating value, and how domestic consumption has for the first year taken lead over what we talk about from an export perspective. These are all indications of how new technology and customer sentiments in each of these are. And I so therefore want to make sure that we all understand that it's time to relook, because there's never been a bigger tsunami than what we are trying to do, trying to see in AI. And the intent of the customer, where we are seeing right now a little bit of a slowdown, intepidness, decision making, is all down to people not being sure what will happen. But 3 to 5 years and 30 to 50%, you all need to relook what the opportunity for those businesses are, whether they will all exist or not. And I think that's the big building, the last line, which I think is building future readiness through capability. And I know from a small to medium enterprise business, and I've always maintained this line because I've been part of the SME group since the time I have been in NASSCOM. But one of the big things that we've always talked about is, in a big company, you have so much cash, so much large deals, you can make so many decisions. With a smaller company, it's so difficult. But I think those challenges, I have realized, actually exist all across all businesses. The scale of challenges vary, but the challenges of allocating your capital and your budget to certain things and being able to say no to certain things exist in TechM, exist in bigger companies than TechM, in an Infosys or a TCS or in an Accenture. And we sometimes have the same feeling that, okay, we are building this. Accenture doesn't have this challenge. They're probably building a large data and analytics team 6 times our size, and because they are bigger, they have more money, more cash to flow. And then I realized that maybe when the next time a SME entrepreneur is talking to me, that when he says that, sir, you guys don't have the same challenge, I can relate very well that the challenge is similar across the scale of businesses. The challenge is in being able to decide what to focus, what not to do, and how to stick to it. It's always the tough question that I've always felt in answering customer sentiments is really the or decision, not the and decision. And I'm going to talk to you primarily about some of the or decisions. It's obvious that this year is going to be what I think are going to be based on these 6 key elements that will define what will be our agendas for what we call as the FY25 year, starting in a week's time or a little later for most of our financial years, and how therefore each of them will play out a key role. I think I just want to dwell on 3 things that I feel are positive waves that we need to all focus and figure out how we will ride that trend. The 3 positive waves, I think, are the AI use cases, which gives a small company a larger opportunity to compete with a larger company, because most of us in the larger world have more things to lose, because a large chunk of our businesses will be about the kind of people displacement AI will bring. How do we manage that in the world? But this is the time for people who are in the small to medium sector to aggressively go after these segments where they think they can go deep. But the moment you try to widen it, you will be another Me Too company and it will be very difficult for you to compete. But this is the time for you to not just compete with larger companies, but expand the market if you were to focus on what I call is relevant AI use cases. I ask this question of most of our people in Tech Mahindra, in our peer groups, in Wipro, Infosys and others, but also in customers. That while there is a very high level conversation about McKinsey or a BCG or someone telling us what generative AI can do, I don't know how many have been able to go down to an AI use case and have a chat with a bank. A previous speaker to Nidhi was a gentleman from HSBC, and to have a conversation with HSBC's consumer banking guy and say, this is exactly where AI will impact you, and I can do it because I have 8 people or 18 people or 80 people trained on how to drive the domain and the Gen AI. The moment you become a Gen AI horizontal, I think you lose it, but that's my view, that the more we become focused, here is an opportunity for us to compete and transform. The second part is what I think is the rise of the digital natives. This is not stopping. So we are going to get more and more startups, we are going to get more and more companies which are building products. NASSCOM itself, runs a fairly large startup community, but overall, just in India and globally, this is such a flowing demand that this is an opportunity and a trend we all need to figure out that we are not going to miss. And how do we therefore service these guys? Because they are more focused on either getting their product right and being able to make sure they have the right skills available to get those products right. How will each one of you drive and ride that wave? And third, we all know, is the focus on what's happening with GCCs. We've almost got the capability centers, the global capability centers, about 2 new ones coming every fortnight. And this trend, according to most of the research analysts, is going to continue for at least another 5 years in different forms. May not be 2 every fortnight, may become 3, may become 4, but the whole opportunity lies from 50 people global captive centers, which was never an opportunity earlier, to the original ones where the Fortune 2000s came and delivered 500, 1,000, 2,000 people centers. What will be your role in these 3 waves is a question that I think each of your teams might ask. And I think the other ones are obvious and there's nothing that we can do, but it's an impact that's going to happen for customer sentiments happening. If you look at the key 3 trends that are influencing client behavior, the key decision making is becoming more and more cadence and takes a longer period. So you have to budget that in as to where you are going to invest and what you are not going to do, because that's going to be clear that this is not going away. People are going to discuss and review and make sure cadence is critical before they take a decision making. AI, as I said in the first part, is going to be a common question, whether you're doing managed service or app development or providing support to a SaaS platform. Each of them will make sure that there'll come a question saying, what are you doing in AI to change and transform this? So you can't do it across, as I keep repeating, focus and choose which one you want to focus on. And obviously data privacy and security become a critical part of everyone's question, as all the questions about not just large but medium language models and small language models start to become more critical as part of delivering the business. But how do we address these sentiments? What do we do as a group, as a company, as an industry that we can do to address the sentiments? One of the big things and easy to say is partner with client. How do you do that? How many of us, for example, for measuring that you do have to do partnering with the client, are choosing which clients to do? As I said again, all of this is about an or decision and not an and decision, because you have to choose those few clients that you want to engage and spend time with them in building these 2 capabilities. How will you evolve with him, which basically means his business and systems evolving and then exploring the systems with him. And I can tell you that while there is a slowdown, I am dealing on a deal with a large auto manufacturer, which is still today trying to build one of the most complex application systems, building data and analytics, new product development, supply chain, all of them put together. And they're extremely aggressive on the price points that they're looking at. And I can tell you that I'm competing with tier 1 providers across the board in our peer group, but also with some smaller companies, people who are 200 people, 250 people companies which are competing in this space. So that aggression of winning in this space is not left with only 250, 300 people companies that are going to run into. You are going to run into the large companies to bid for it. And I can tell you one of the places, actually this one of the modules actually that we are discussing, a tier 1 company is lesser expensive or more cost effective than the subject matter expert, sorry, the SME that is competing in that area. So it goes on to say that the time next year, unless and until you have spent time with the client and therefore the choice, will be tough. Will be tough in every aspect of competing, and the large companies will be all equally hungry. And the customer is also very clear that they are not going to pay too much premium for a large brand. So this is an opportunity where you can compete, but this is also a challenge where you know that the larger companies will be equally hungry. The second part of it is, obviously cost is a pressure. So how do you make sure that you are going to bring in efficiencies? I don't know whether you're using Microsoft Copilot or any other Google tool or anything else, but if you're not using it, this is your time to challenge your teams to make sure that how do we get 30, 40, 50% productivity out of it? Because the competition is not India. The competition is going to come from the West in a very, very aggressive manner if we are not challenging ourselves in trying to adjust these cost pressures. We know that this year, not as much in India, but definitely one of our largest markets in North America, and within that, the most significant US, is going to be under a lot of uncertainty because of election, because of the impending thought process on recession, which never seems to go away, but it's going to be there. So the reality is that the competition is going to be very, very aggressive in these markets, and the only way you can do is to be good at something, but very few things, and not try and widen your process. And therefore, clarity in face of disruption. Again, a very clear example of where I was talking to you about the example of customers, the clear clarity in terms of which technologies are you going to focus on and how deep do you want to go into. If you try and cover everything, you will be nothing for anyone. As I told you, the competition that I am in front of has two clear small companies which are not even based in that city where the customer is based in, but in some small town, but trying to compete very aggressively because they have built a capacity and capability on a particular area, and therefore, and which is supply chain in this case, and they've said that I'm going to be the best in this space, and all their focus is on this. So the key aspect of that is going to be about focus. So in summary, if you look at the addressing the client sentiments that are going to be of relevant in this year, are primarily going to be about how do you build a team which is going to be partner with a client. So therefore, the choice of clients, choice of prospects is critical because you can't be doing it with everyone. Immediate needs is primarily going to be about agility. So therefore, how do you make sure your teams are able to respond quickly, and how do you make sure that teams are able to build modules or solution frameworks that are ability to deliver to them quickly and fast, which again means what you won't do. And the third and final way is, absolute clarity in the face of disruption, that they're going to be huge. As I gave an example, commercial disruption. One of the largest tier 1 companies, cheaper than a 250 people company, is going to be the reality as you face the market. So it's commercial disruption, technology disruption. It's both going to come your way. So if you want to win in this space, have very clear clarity on which technology to focus on and which area to go deep into. As we close, I think if there is one message that I am giving to my company in Tech Mahindra, and want to share it with all of you as we start to do, and as I started my conversation saying, the challenges you face in capital allocation, in talent building, in hiring talent, retaining talent, and all of that is no different for the larger companies either. They have the same problems, but in a different scale. But the problems exist across the board. I think the only way two companies or the organizations can succeed, which I feel this year is going to be the year for driving that, is focus and agility. Focus on which clients and which technology, and agility in being ability to respond quickly on terms of not just commercial response, but in terms of technology. So if you're going to be agile in delivering those technology, it means you'll have to invest in that. If you're going to invest, you can't invest in a wider set, therefore you need to invest in a smaller set. That's where I would leave the thoughts with you. I think I have some time left. If you feel there are any questions that you want to ask, more than happy to take. Thank you.
We have a question.
Hi sir, my name is Jagdish Mitra from Easy Commerce. Thank you so much for the insightful lecture. So it's a direct question. You mentioned that you are competing with smaller companies with say around 200, 300 size of people. So has it ever happened in your witness that you have lost projects to these kinds of companies? And if so, other than cost, what has been the top 2 or 3 primary reasons for that to happen?
Many times. Okay, so I can't disclose the client name, but there has been many times where I have had a very deep relationship with a client and I've lost it to a smaller business, much smaller in that scale, and it's not been price. Price has been a factor, so I don't think we should turn around and say price is not the main factor, which is where the customer always will tell you that price is not the main factor but the capability. But actually in reality the capability has been the main reason, where companies that I've lost to have been very focused and saying that I'm going to only focus on this business process and this capability or this technology or this product. So I've lost to people who have picked up a product like say a particular area, not even SFDC, but an area within SFDC that they were very good at. And they built the whole team around it. And if the opportunity and the skill capability match, the customer looked for them for saying that they have actually invested, they've got capability, and I'm going to pick those guys. So the answer is, yes, price obviously is a matter, but the reason we've lost it is not because of price, but because they have demonstrated much deeper understanding and capability.
Thank you, Jagdish.
Many thanks to you, Mr. Mitra, for this very insightful session. You've put in spotlight the point that while some businesses need to deal with tech transformation and disruption all the time, all businesses need to deal with it at some point in time. I take the opportunity to invite on stage Ms. Sumbul from NASSCOM to felicitate Mr. Mitra. A huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Many thanks for that. It's now time to take a well-deserved lunch break and recharge. We shall reassemble here at 2:15 and reconvene with the sessions about going global and discovering international and global opportunities, followed by the much-awaited Inspire Awards. So see you all at 2:15. Kindly enjoy your lunch. Thank you.